Welcome back to the renovation. It's week 14 and we're starting off with an absolute belter of a job. I need to go around the whole of the master bedroom and scrape off the wallpaper glue residue, which is all this yellow stuff you can see behind me. I've scraped it off here already, which is why it's a bit of a different color. And it is such a boring and tedious and slow job. But I've got some Tony's Chocolonely, a beer and Olivia Dean in the ears, so let's get to it. Right, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new technique for removing wallpaper glue residue. I'm gonna use this. I scraped most of it off yesterday, but there's still little patches of glue, and basically I wanna get this wall really clean because I don't wanna have to replaster it like I did with that one, or what I have to do with that one because I haven't done it yet. I'm also gonna go over it with an electric sander, I think, because where the picture rail was, there's like some really old glue and I cannot get it off with the scraper. It's super smooth as well, which is like the last thing you want when you're trying to adhere plaster to it. And ChatGPT said, I can't leave it, I have to get rid of it. The electric brush technique sort of works, sort of doesn't work. It like does get it off, but then it just sort of leaves like a line of the stuff. It just sort of moves it to the edge. So I'm gonna try just sanding it in the hope that it'll actually come off the wall and just sort of fall off. That's the plan anyway, let's fucking try it. After all that, I actually decided to use the belt sander. You can see where it's yellow and it's not yellow. The belt sander is probably too aggressive and I think probably a ridiculous and very unorthodox thing to do to a wall. But the orbital sander was really slow. It was kind of working, but it was taking ages. The belt on the belt sander is now worn out, but I can't be bothered to go to Screwfix to get another one. So I've belt sanded around the areas that need bonding, like this piece of wood. I don't know why there's a piece of wood running through the wall, but there is. And all the chases are belt sanded around those so that I can now fill them with bonding. So let's do that. Now I'm using this little wallpaper stripper thing just because it's a bit easier. Is it easier? That's a fucking lie. Let's not use that for now. I actually really like the plastering, bonding and stuff. Quite satisfying. Oh, fuck. Spoke a bit too soon there. Oh god, he's dropping loads of it. I've made this wetter than I've made it before. Not for any particular reason, just it is wetter. I'm pretty happy with how the bonding is going off on that wall. That's all fine. The next thing I was gonna do was do the bonding on this wall, because obviously big gap there, cracks, and the gap between the wall and the ceiling at the top. But because this is painted, this blue color, I went to prepare one of the cracks at the top up there with the SBR, the like solution you put on first. And it basically just doesn't really soak in. It just doesn't dry. It sits on the top. So I was Googling it, and it was like, oh, you should like sand it down. I was like, I don't really want to have to sand like the whole chimney breast. I'm already like sort of sanding that wall. So I think I'm just going to hack off all the plaster and dot and dab plasterboard over the top, because, which to be honest, probably should have been what I did to the whole room, but you live and you learn. So I think, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is take off all the plaster, go back to brick just on the chimney breast, and then dot and dab plasterboard, which is basically where you stick plasterboard on, and then plaster over the top. I think that's what I'm going to do. So the process I'm going to be using for this, I've already cut the big piece of plasterboard to the right size. And then I basically need to cover the wall in a 1-to-1 mixture of PVA to water. I need to do that twice until the wall becomes tacky so that the adhesive doesn't dry too quickly. You need to put that adhesive on the wall, and then you basically just stick the plasterboard on it. So, I mean, hopefully that's correct, and hopefully that works. Yeah, that looks good. Give that a little shake. I've run into a little bit of an issue. So I put these ones on first with the idea that then I'd cut these so that they'd line up perfectly. But what I've forgotten, like basically I lined this up perfectly with this side of the chimney so that I could then put this, what I thought would be flush against it. But because there's going to be a gap between this piece and the wall where the adhesive is, it means that it would actually be more of a gap like that, which isn't great. So what, and there's not really anything I can do now because these are already on. So I think I'm just going to basically do a really thin layer of the adhesive and stick it pretty flush. It's definitely not what you're meant to do, but I think it's still going to stay on the wall. But you live and you learn. You live and you learn. All of the plasterboard's on the wall now, and it's feeling pretty good, feels pretty solid. Like none of it's moving around. I think it's fine. I don't really know, but it feels fine to me. The last thing I've got to do is put this beading, oh God, put this beading, oh my God. Last thing I've got to do is put this beading on the corners, and you basically just cut it with some snips and then nail it in with some specific nails. I can't, clout nails. So let's do that. Okay, it turns out these nails don't actually fit into those beads. They don't fit through the holes. So we will do that another time. Today's the day that I'm finally going to plaster the ceiling in the master bedroom. I put scrim tape over all the joints and put bonding in some of the ones that are a bit too wide, I think. I've got a pole attachment for my ox speed skim so that I can try and spatula the whole thing in one big quick go. I've set up a what looks like an assault course in here, but basically platforms so that I can reach the ceiling all over the room, because I don't want to be running around with a ladder because it would be super chaotic. So yeah, I think I'm ready to go. Let's just try and do this. There's probably only going to be one camera angle and probably not very much talking, but let's see what happens. I'm going to start in this corner and go this way. How heavy is this bucket? Oh my God, that's not even pick upable. Jesus Christ. Okay. Looks like I'm doing trips to and from the bucket. Now, I think this is about the right consistency. I'm not sure. Right, I need to set a timer, because last time I took way too long. Okay, wish me luck, guys. I don't know. I feel like my whole life has built up to this moment for some reason. Oh, I'm going to do the test. Hang on. Yes, okay. Oh, shit. Okay, I just dropped fucking loads of it on the floor. Right, not a good start. I'm going to switch to voiceover here because this was pretty stressful. I started off quite well. I've obviously only plastered one wall before and that didn't go great. So I'm not expecting any awards for this ceiling, and I was locked and loaded, ready for it to be a pretty stressful experience. So I started off by cutting in from the edge, and it was going kind of well. I was dropping a fair amount on the floor, let's be honest, and quite a lot of it on myself. I put a sachet of extra time in the mix, so that gives you a bit more time to work with it and it slows down the drying process. So I've got about half an hour to get this on the ceiling, and then 20 to 30 minutes to smooth it out, and then I've got to do another coat. At this point, I'm realizing how difficult this is. It's super difficult. Respect all the plasterers out there, because my hand and my shoulder were killing me within about 5 minutes, and the speed that you have to apply this stuff is crazy. Watching this back now, like, I think it was actually going better than I thought it was, but the time pressure is just like insane, because you obviously, like, I mean, maybe it would have been easier if I had a clock up or something, but you're sort of guessing how long it's taken, but you're so in the zone that you don't really realize how long you're taking. But basically, yeah, I was getting it on the ceiling. I got sort of halfway and I realized, oh fuck, that's been half an hour. Oh fuck me. This is where the stress really started to kick in. My goggles were fogging up every 30 seconds as well, which really didn't help the situation. I was running out of plaster in my bucket, so I thought the best thing to do was just use up the last bit of plaster and then start flattening, because it was pretty clear I wasn't going to do the whole ceiling in one go. And I realized I can probably just do this in 2 halves and then just blend them together. So better to get this one on and get it smooth rather than get it across the whole ceiling and it's set too quickly. I'm panicking. Oh, bloody hell. Oh, bloody hell, it's spinning. Right, this goes like this. I used the speed skim to flatten the plaster as much as I could. I was pretty panicked at this point and I was getting pretty frustrated with the speed skim because the handle kept coming loose. It made it a lot flatter, but the plaster was firming up. So I got it as flat as I could, and then I mixed up the next batch of plaster. I started putting the second coat on and then realised that I hadn't put the extra time sachet in this batch. So I had to work sort of twice as quickly as I'd done the first coat, which, as you can imagine, made my panic even worse. My camera then ran out of memory, so I don't have the clips of me trying to smooth it out with the trowel as much as possible, but it looks relatively flat. I wouldn't say it was particularly smooth. So that's where we're at for now. I'm going to finish the rest off next week and let it all dry out, and then we'll see how much sanding needs to be done, probably quite a lot. But hopefully we can get it into some sort of semi-reasonable shape. Bye for now.